You know that feeling when you walk into a room and something just feels off and you can't quite put your finger on why? The furniture is nice, the colors make sense, but for some reason, the whole space just doesn't quite work. Well, that's usually not because of bad taste. It's because you've made a few small design mistakes that most people don't even realize they're making. But those tiny mistakes can totally throw off the proportion, the balance, and the flow of the entire room. And honestly, most people don't even know they're doing this stuff because the advice that causes these mistakes sounds pretty reasonable. Things like hang your curtains right above the window or push your furniture against the wall so the room feels bigger. Yeah, no, because the reality is these are exactly the kinds of choices that make your home feel smaller and even cheaper. So in this video, we're fixing that. You're gonna learn 7 of the most common design mistakes that are quietly ruining your space, and more importantly, how to fix them. And by the end of this video, you're gonna start seeing your home differently. You'll understand why some rooms just feel right, and how to get that same feeling in your own space without spending a fortune. So let's start with one of the biggest offenders I see all the time, and that's rugs that are just way too small. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That sad little sticky note sitting under your coffee table while all your furniture just kind of floats around it. And look, I get why people do this. You find a rug you love, it's the right color, the great pattern, and the 5x7 is cheaper than the 8x10, so you decide to save a bit of money. But the moment that rug is laid down, the whole room instantly feels smaller and just so disconnected. Because here's the thing, your rug is supposed to anchor your furniture, not run away from it. But when the rug is too small, the sofa looks oversized, the chairs feel detached, and the layout just kind of collapses in the middle. It's like every piece of furniture is at a party, but no one's talking to each other. And so they're all just in their own little corners, minding their own business. But now compare that to a properly sized rug, one that extends under the front legs of your sofa and chairs. Suddenly, the space feels intentional, grounded, and cohesive. The furniture is having that conversation now, and the room looks twice as polished. And the same rule applies in your dining room. The rug should fit all your chairs, even when they're pulled out from the table. Otherwise, you're constantly catching the back legs on the edge of the rug, and it just looks and feels unfinished. So if your rug's making the room feel off, it's probably not your furniture, it's the proportions. So when it comes to rugs, go bigger than you think you need. It's one of the easiest, fastest ways to make your home look more expensive. Okay, next up, curtains. This one is honestly such a game changer, and it blows my mind how often people still get it wrong. Because here's the deal, curtains aren't just about blocking light or adding softness. They completely change how tall and wide your space feels. If you hang them wrong, suddenly your ceilings feel lower, your windows look smaller, and the whole room just kind of shrinks in on itself. And the mistake I see all the time is people hanging their curtain rods just above the window frame. Look, I know it feels natural to put it there because the brackets fit and it lines up really nicely, but it's one of those things that quietly kills your room's proportions. Because when you hang curtains that low, your eyes stop at the top of the window instead of traveling all the way up to the ceiling. And so you've just made your room look a foot shorter for free. Now, here's how to fix it. Hang your curtain rod as high as you possibly can, ideally just a few inches below the ceiling, and extend it several inches past each side of the window. That way, when your curtains are open, they don't block any of that incoming natural light. The window looks bigger, the ceiling feels taller, and suddenly your whole space feels more elevated. And please, let your curtains hit the floor. None of this awkward ankle-length situation where they hover above like they're afraid of getting dirty. No. When they just kiss the floor, it feels custom, finished, and way more expensive, even if your curtains come from IKEA. And yes, I've seen in the comments people saying, oh, my robot vacuum cleaner is gonna eat those curtains up. Well, maybe you should talk to your robot about that. I don't know what else to tell you, but if you are putting them at ankle length, it just kind of looks like, you know, bell-bottom jeans. It's something from the 90s that we really don't want to carry on into the future. All right, let's talk about art now because this one drives me crazy. You can have the most beautiful furniture, perfect lighting, everything styled just right, and then you hang your artwork 6 inches too high and suddenly the whole room feels off. Because here's the thing, art has power. It can make a wall feel complete, or it can throw the entire balance of the room out the window. And most people either hang it way too high, like they're displaying it in a museum, or they pick something so small that it looks like a postage stamp floating in a sea of drywall. So let's break it down and make sense of this. If your artwork is above a sofa, a console, or a bed, it should feel connected to the piece below it. not like it's floating away from it. And so the general rule is that the bottom of your art should sit about 6 to 8 inches above the furniture. That's close enough that it feels intentional, but not so low that it's crowding the space. And when it comes to size, bigger is almost always better. If you're hanging a single piece, aim for something that's roughly 2/3 the width of the furniture beneath it. Because if your art is too small, it just gets lost, and the furniture overpowers it, and the wall just looks unfinished. But when the proportions are right, everything snaps into place. And if you can't find one big piece, then create a grouping. 3 smaller pieces hung together can have just as much impact as one big piece, as long as they feel balanced and cohesive. I always tell people, your art should look like it's anchoring your furniture, not hovering above it like it's a balloon that's about to escape. Because when art is scaled and placed properly, it ties the entire room together. And it feels effortless, like it was always meant to be there. All right, next up, let's talk about a layout mistake that just refuses to die. And that is pushing all your furniture against the walls. Look, I get it. It feels logical, right? You're thinking, if I move everything out to the edges, then I'll have more open space in the middle. But that's actually the opposite of what happens. Because what you end up with is a room that feels empty in the center and heavy along the edges. It kills the flow, it kills the comfort, and it just makes your living room feel more like a waiting room. Because when all your pieces are hugging the perimeter, there's no real sense of connection. The sofa's talking to the wall, the chairs are having their own conversation, and the middle of the room just becomes this awkward no man's land where nothing happens. So instead, try pulling your furniture in. Even if you've only got a small living room, floating your sofa or chairs a few inches off the wall creates breathing space. It defines a clear seating zone, and suddenly the room feels intentional instead of accidental. And as I said a couple minutes ago, think of your rug as the anchor, because that's the island where the action happens. Your coffee table sits at the center, and all your seating pieces connect around it. Because that kind of a layout invites people in. It feels conversational, balanced, and just really cozy, even if your room isn't that big. And no, you don't need to drag everything a mile into the center. Just a little bit of space behind the sofa or that narrow console table you've got along the wall, that's enough to make your space feel designed instead of default. So remember, pushing your furniture against the walls doesn't make your space bigger. It just makes it feel like you didn't know what else to do. So bring it in, define the center, and your room will instantly feel larger, warmer, and way more sophisticated. Okay, now next we've got lighting. And honestly, this might be one of the most underrated parts of design, and it's always the thing that separates a space that feels flat from one that feels expensive. Because most people just rely on a single overhead light and call it a day. You walk in, flick the switch, and boom, everything is lit, but somehow the room still feels lifeless. And that's because a single light source can't create any depth or mood. It just washes everything out. So here's the fix. You need layers. Overhead lighting is fine, but it's only one part of the picture. You want table lamps, floor lamps, wall sconces, different sources of light at different heights that work together to create warmth and dimension. It's the difference between I can see everything and this room feels amazing. I mean, just think about how restaurants and hotels use lighting. They're not blasting the space with one bright bulb from above. They use soft pools of light, something for ambience, something for function, something just to set the mood. And that's what you want to do at home as well. And don't underestimate the power of color temperature. If your bulbs are that harsh, cold white that makes your skin look like a hospital waiting room, then switch them out for something warmer, something around 2700 kelvins. That's an instant upgrade that makes your space feel cozy, natural, and flattering. And scale definitely matters too. If you've got a huge dining table with a tiny little light fixture floating above it, then it's going to look sad. Your lighting should feel proportionate to the space it's in. So that lighting fixture should anchor the zone, not disappear into it. So yeah, lighting is your instant mood setter. Fix your lighting and suddenly your home feels warmer, more intentional, and so much more luxurious. Okay, now this next one, I've kind of got some strong feelings about. Mounting your TV too high, especially over a fireplace, is one of those things that looks kind of sleek in photos, but just feels awful in real life. And look, we've all seen it, right? You walk into a living room, look over at the fireplace, and the TV's practically brushing the ceiling. And sure, it lines up beautifully with the mantle, rectangle on rectangle. But then you sit down, and suddenly you're craning your neck like it's 2005 and you're playing Super Mario on a GameCube in Walmart. It's not comfortable, it's not practical, and honestly, it's not even flattering to the room's proportions. Because here's what's happening. When the TV is mounted too high like that, it visually pulls all the weight of the room upward. The furniture sits low, the art disappears, and everything feels top-heavy. And the fireplace itself loses its presence. And instead of feeling cozy and grounded, the whole wall just kind of looms over you. So what should you do instead? Well, ideally, your TV should sit so that the center of the screen is roughly at eye level when you're seated, give or take a few inches depending on your sofa height. That's the natural, comfortable viewing position. So if you've already got a fireplace taking up that prime position, then don't force it. Mount the TV beside it instead. Create a nice balance with shelving or artwork on the other side, and suddenly it looks intentional, not like you were fighting with your architecture. And if you have to mount above the fireplace, then angle the TV downward or use an articulating mount so you can bring it closer to eye level when you're actually watching it. You'll thank yourself later. Because yeah, I know it's tempting to make everything symmetrical, but comfort wins every time. Your living room isn't a showroom because you actually live there. So make it functional and beautiful at the same time. All right, now let's move on to one that's a little controversial, and that's matching every single metal finish in your entire home. I mean, you know the look. Chrome faucet, chrome handles, chrome light fixtures, and chrome mirror, right? Everything's matching perfectly, but somehow it still feels flat. It's like the design version of wearing a Canadian tuxedo. Technically coordinated, but it's just too much of the same thing. Now, of course, I get why people do it, right? It feels safe. You don't have to think too hard, you just pick one finish and stick with it. But the problem is, when everything matches, nothing stands out. It loses depth, it loses character, and the whole space starts to feel a little bit builder basic. So here's the fix. You want one dominant metal finish, which is your main character, and then one or two supporting finishes to add some contrast. For example, if you've got a brushed nickel faucet, then try mixing in some matte black cabinet handles or a warm wood mirror, because that contrast of materials adds richness and dimension. It gives your space texture without turning it into a metallic circus. And the key is to repeat each finish at least twice so that it feels more intentional. If you've got brass wall sconces, then echo that brass somewhere else, maybe in a picture frame or a mirror. That way, the space feels designed, not like you just grabbed everything from a yard sale. It's all about balance. You don't want a hardware explosion, but you also don't want everything blending together into one cold tone. So when you mix metals thoughtfully, it makes your room feel layered, curated, and lived in. And that's exactly what separates a space that just feels decorated from one that feels designed. So here's the thing. Good design isn't just about what you add. It's just as much about what you avoid. Because once you fix those little mistakes we've talked about, the too small rugs, the low curtains, the awkward art placement, the bad lighting, your home starts to feel completely different. Not just better looking, but also calmer, more intentional, and a whole lot more expensive even if you didn't spend a cent. And that's the magic of design done right. It's not about chasing trends or copying Pinterest. It's about understanding the small details that change how a space feels. So if you found this helpful and you want to keep improving your home, then check out the videos linked in the description below. I've got full breakdowns on layout, color, and all those subtle design mistakes that quietly hold your space back. Or just click this one up here, which is all about the subtle mistakes that are making your home look cheap and how to fix them. I'll see you there.